Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Thursday, 29 January. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about the Russian casualty rate has reached 1.2 million according to CSIS. US intelligence has raised doubts about the Venezuelan current leadership's cooperation with the US. And UK Keir Starmer, Prime Minister, visits China as Beijing courts US allies. So firstly, the total number of Russian soldiers who have been killed, injured, or gone missing since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 has reached 1.2 million, according to the new report published on Wednesday. The Washington-based think tank, the Center for Strategic International Studies, or CSIS, gathered its data from military personnel, intelligence agencies, and various government sources. The report also predicted that the combined losses both between Ukraine and Russia could reach 2 million by April if fighting continues at its current intensity. The CSIS report estimates that 1.2 million Russian casualties, including 325,000 soldiers killed and 500 to 600 Ukrainian casualties, which includes 100 to 140,000 Ukrainian soldiers killed. So what? I mean, these numbers are absolutely staggering. If you also take into account the time that Russia has spent in this conflict, which is now longer than what they called the Great Patriotic War, which is their part of the World War II conflict, and the distances that they have covered for such numbers, it's absolutely staggering, to be completely honest. And it just shows how modern military war has changed. Like these types of tactics are not new to Russia, right? This is how they beat Nazi Germany. They just use overwhelming manpower to flood defensive positions, ensuring that logistics couldn't keep up with the rate of assault, leading to them, overwhelming and defeating the defenders, or the defenders at that point. But it isn't working the same way. And while Russia is making advances, it is very slow. And it is slow for like any conflict. I think the distance they have covered since February 2022 is something like 40 kilometers in Donetsk. So 40 kilometers, nearly 4 years, and 1.2 million casualties is an absolutely staggering loss. Does this mean they're going to lose the conflict? Probably not. There's probably going to be some kind of mutual agreement here, but it just goes to show the absolute cost that Russia is willing to pay for this war in Ukraine. And there's like lots of background reasons for that, like both political and domestic for Putin. But yeah, it is just a staggering number when you put it on paper. And next, US intelligence reports have raised doubts about whether the interim Venezuelan president, Rodriguez, will cooperate with the Trump administration by formally cutting ties with US adversaries. 4 people familiar with the reports have told Reuters in recent days. US officials have publicly stated that they want the interim president to sever relations with international allies such as Iran, China, Russia, including expelling their diplomats and advisors from Venezuela. But Rodriguez, whose swearing-in ceremony was attended by representatives of those countries earlier this month, has yet to publicly announce such a move. She became president after the US captured the former Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, on January 3rd. The US intelligence report said that it's not clear if she is fully on board with the US strategy in her country, according to the sources who declined to identify by name. So what? I mean, of course she's going to try to place both sides. That's like, she's going to tell the US not publicly, but privately, that she's fully willing to participate with them because, she doesn't want to end up like Maduro. Though how the US would justify kidnapping the next Venezuelan president would be interesting. Not unlikely, but interesting. Kind of funny to see. But yeah, and then of course she's also going to try and reach back to their former allies to see if they can provide additional support. However, I don't know if they can. They all currently have their own internal issues going on. Russia has the war in Ukraine. Iran has both its conflict with Israel, but also the internal protests against the current government. And then China just, abolished its entire military leadership. So all three of their closest allies are currently experiencing some kind of, personal turmoil that they need to deal with before they worry about what's going on in Venezuela and whether they have enough resources, manpower, like by meaning of like high level advisors or like special forces that they are willing to put to this task. Yeah, it's troubling. Oh, well, troubling for her, not troubling for me. So yeah, I don't know which way it's going to go. It's quite possible that they can't support her in the way she needs, and then she does actually have to cooperate with the US. If she doesn't cooperate, it's quite possible that Trump will make some further actions to ensure her cooperation, if not her removal. And lastly, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has touched down in Beijing with a business delegation on Wednesday for a 3-day visit, the first by a British leader in nearly 8 years. Starmer is seeking to strengthen political and business ties between the United Kingdom and China as relations between the United States and its allies has become increasingly strained under Donald Trump. Criticised by some opponents in the United Kingdom for not taking a hard enough line in China, Starmer said the UK must remain vigilant on security threats but could not afford to ignore the world's second largest economy. So what? To me, this kind of goes back to the damage that Trump has done within the West. This move by the UK follows a similar move by Canada, who also reached out to China to strengthen the relationship. The EU has also done a similar move recently. So yeah, all of this goes to show how far Trump has pushed the relationship. A year ago, it would have been highly unlikely that Keir Starmer would have tried to seek such relations with China at this time, as they are basically an enemy. It also follows the UK agreeing to the large Chinese embassy in the UK, which a lot of security experts pointed to as a huge security risk. So it's kind of an unsurprising move at this stage. Like you accept the embassy, then you go and visit, you try to build trade relations. It's unsurprising that this is the way he's tried to do it, but not ideal for the West to be strengthened and unified, as China can be quite bullying when it comes to trade relations and how it affects geopolitics. But I don't know. Hopefully there's election soon and we can fucking rid ourselves of Keir Starmer. But that's my personal opinion. Anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.